Looking for a new book to read? As a means to promote literacy and lifelong learning on St. Martin, little free libraries were installed, which serves as a means to take a book, leave a book, and read. The little free libraries are located on the Marigot waterfront, the Rahul Elite Sports Complex, and the University of St. Martin. Be sure to visit the Rotary Club of St. Martin Sunset's free little libraries where you take a book, leave a book, and read.
Jenny Stotts currently serves as the membership chair in Rotary District 6690. She is a member of the Paul Harris Society and the Bequest Society. She is a charter member of the Rotary Club of Athens Sunrise. Her favorite Rotary activities include Ryla and Paddle for Polio Plus, an annual event featuring kayaks. She developed a service event called The Big Project, which benefits her hometown by bringing together more than a dozen Rotary, Kiwanis, Lions, and Civitan clubs, which she describes as her dream project. Stotts is the executive director of the Athens CASA/GALA program and the regional coordinator of Southeast Ohio CASA. Worker, a trauma specialist, and a trained forensic interviewer. She has devoted her career to serving foster children. This work is near to her heart as she was adopted from the Ohio child welfare system as a child and grew up in a working foster home. She and her husband, also a Rotarian, continue the tradition, building their family through adoption as well. She recognized in her community and region as the Young Professional of the Year, Community Leader of the Year, and Ohio's 5 under 35 featured alumni. She serves as the chair of the federally mandated Child Welfare Review Panel on Permanency and was elected to the National Leadership Council for CASA. She is also on the advisory board of. In addition to Rotary, Stotts volunteers her time with the Make-A-Wish Foundation and the Child Conservation League. She describes herself simply as mother, friend, social worker, Rotarian, and troublemaking millennial. Let's all welcome Mrs. Jenny Stotts with a virtual round of applause. Ms. Stotts, you have the virtual floor.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for that very kind and over-the-top introduction. I appreciate it, and I'm really delighted to be here with everyone this evening. So before we begin, I'm going to put you to work a little bit. And I would like you to look at your calendars, whether you use your phone or you use a paper calendar. I'd just like you to take a minute while I'm talking. Sometime in the next several days, maybe later tonight, maybe tomorrow, or later this week, but find just 10 minutes that you have open in your schedule. I know you're all busy, right? Rotary members tend to be pretty busy, but find 10 minutes and make a date with yourself. So find time to just spend and quietly reflect. So this could be, during this conference and, in the next several days, just write it down, enter it, put it into your phone, put it onto your date book, but keep the space. And I'm going to explain why in a minute. To you. So tonight, I'm going to talk about me and Rotary. I've become familiar to some people, and I think this is why President Alicia invited me, but I've become familiar to some because of this concept that I like to call Rotary Happy. And Rotary Happy is really just creating a positive and a meaningful membership experience. That's it. It's pretty simple. It's just something that came to me. But me and Rotary, that's a bit more complicated. And this is a story that you really don't hear, and why Rotary means so much to me. And to tell you this story, I have to go all the way back to when I was born. So when I was just a few days old, as my bio mentioned, I entered the Ohio child welfare system. I was essentially surrendered. And I was placed into a foster home. And a while later, I was adopted. So this is actually a part of my Rotary story. And it's a big part, actually. So fast forward, and I joined Rotary in the fall of 2013. In fact, it was almost exactly this time. I was 26 years old, and I was newly appointed as the executive director of a government agency, CASA, that supports children in Southern Ohio. My path to Rotary was very simple. I was asked to join, so I did. And I imagine a lot of you have similar tales to tell. Someone asked you to join, so you did. And I did a lot of things simply because I was asked. But the real question is why? Now that's a more complicated journey to explain, and it's one that I didn't arrive to quite so simply. Now, I mentioned that my time in the child welfare system and my subsequent adoption was a part of my Rotary story. Now here's how that fits in. In fact, they're even kind of low-key famous in my hometown. My mom and dad have been foster parents for over 40 years. And they have shared our home and our family with hundreds of children in that time. My mom is actually referred to among my colleagues as the baby whisperer. She's that good. She's just a walking angel. They are truly incredible beings. Now, through all of that, through my entire childhood, I came to learn the nod and smile of a very familiar remark that was said by very well-meaning, "You are so lucky." I hear it all the time. You are so lucky to have been adopted by these amazing people, lucky to have been spared the fate that so many who enter the child welfare system have experienced, lucky to have been chosen, lucky to have been saved. And it seems very well-intentioned when people say that. It seems very fair that people say that. But what that did for me over the years was it instilled this sense of duty, this sense of responsibility. I was saved. And it kind of built this feeling that I needed to repay this debt to society and prove that I was worth that saving, that I was worth that chance. Now for me, it translated into achievement, right? I needed to be the best, the first, the youngest, the fastest, the brightest, the most accomplished. I needed to show that this chance on me was not wasted. And in some ways, that's not a bad thing, right? Ambition is not a bad thing. So I volunteered a lot. I needed to give back. I said yes to a lot of things. But what I learned about myself was about 5 or 6 years ago was that I never really felt free of this weight that I had come to carry. The things that I was doing, including Rotary, my job, and many other things, started to feel a lot like burdens to me. And it wasn't because I didn't love those things. It was because I was trying to reach this unattainable bar. I could never, ever repay society or give back enough to make me feel whole. So about figured this all out, but I knew that I needed to create some space to figure out what truly powered my soul. So I made a lot of dates with myself to unpack my story a little bit. I learned about strategic storytelling. I spent a lot of time considering my life's mission. And I had to set myself free of this never-ending debt that I was carrying around. So I didn't stop doing the things that I was doing. I didn't give up volunteering. I didn't change my career. I changed my mindset. Places a little better than when I found them. That's me. That's the type of person I want to be. That's the type of world I want to be in. And it seems so simple, but arriving at this point was so incredibly powerful for me. When I really evaluated my commitments, either family or professional or community commitments, I did it with bold intention. In my travels talking to people, I frequently lead this workshop that on a technique that I call the art of doing it all. So I'm busy, I'm very busy. Yes, but I'm busy with intent. Now I say yes to a lot of things, but I say no to even more. And before I act, I consider what value I bring to the organization or project. Do I have the resources and the skills to move it forward? Will it bring value and reward to me? Is there someone else out there better suited for this opportunity? And that's a hard one to come to terms with. So consider what you do and do it on purpose. So it was after consideration of all of these points and arriving at my mission that I truly became the Rotarian that I am very Rotary happy. So I do a lot of Rotary in my life. And I hear this one little statement come up often, usually at a leadership level. But it's actually a bit of a pet peeve of mine. It kind of makes me a little angry and maybe a little sad. But I hear Rotarians, particularly Rotary leaders, talking about how they have to do Rotary. They have to attend an event, or they have to lead a project, or they have to be on a committee. I'm calling it. That's just not true. Not a single one of you has to be here tonight. Right now, you get to be here. You get to be a part of a worldwide community and an agent for change. Now, I'll allow you to say you have to be here, but not because it's an obligation, but because you couldn't imagine being anywhere else. You have to be here because it powers your soul. You have to be here because you just know that you are on the verge of changing the world through Rotary. That's Rotary happy. So I invite you, unpack your Rotary story, find your point, but rather, why are you a Rotarian? How does Rotary exist within the context of your life's mission? Please, please keep that date with yourself, the one that I asked you to write down before I started talking, and take inventory of your priorities and discover and unpack your Rotary story. So for me, this deliberate consideration of why and this intentional unpacking of what I was doing was a really powerful exercise in growth and empowerment. And it's made me a better Rotarian. It's made me a better boss, a better coworker. But more important than all of that, it's made me a better mother, a better wife, a better friend, a better daughter, a more whole and a more content person. So I ask you, live your life intently. And when you say yes to playing that board game with your child or with your grandchild or your niece or your nephew, be present in that moment. When you sign up to paint the park benches with your Rotary Club or participate in the ocean cleanup or lead the tablet collection project, be present, deliberate in those actions. When you take on that project at work or take that meeting or log on to that Zoom call, be present. And when I promise you, when you live with this level of intention, things have a way of just prioritizing themselves. So for me, and I hope for you, Rotary rose to the top of my list of priorities because it's integral to my life's mission. Because of my Rotary community, I could pick up the phone right now and call people in a dozen or more countries. And on that phone call, we could talk about have the beginnings of a plan to serve. Because of my Rotary community, I can build a park in my hometown if I wanted to. And because of that community, I can show up to almost any event or any function or any Zoom call and find a friendly and familiar face. Rotary is just simply how I'm able to carry out my life's mission. So now imagine, had I not arrived at this, had I not done this work, this self-work, and I'd still been stuck in that mindset of paying off my invisible debt, still in that mindset of obligation, actively involved, I probably still would have ended up the president of my club at some point. I would have, by all accounts, been a good Rotarian. But I wouldn't have this joy that I hope you can feel even through this Zoom call, this excitement and in this enthusiasm, and most importantly, this authenticity. The way that I am excited about Rotary, or the way that I say that I'm Rotary happy, is really authentically me. And being so fulfilled and so energized and so excited about this organization and the work that we can be. And that's really what I want to share about me and Rotary today. Someone told me just a few years ago that I was rah-rah Rotary. Now, if I'm being honest, I think they meant it as an insult. But I own that with pride. I am rah-rah Rotary. I'm Rotary happy, and it's very authentic for me. And I beg each of you to consider and unpack your Rotary story. Please, please keep that date with yourself. Make it a priority. Discover your own little version of Rotary happy. someone. That's really the inspiration that gets others energized about our organization. So be the inspiration to others who are looking for something like Rotary to help carry out their life's mission. And you know, when you do that, you just might do what happened to me, and you just might end up inspiring yourself a little bit too. I greatly appreciate all of you taking the time and listening to me today. And I would love to chat a little bit and hear any of your questions, but thank you so much for your time.
So much, Rotarian Jenny. Thank you so much for that inspirational message. I know maybe some of our guests or our Rotarians here in Sunset would like to ask a few questions. The floor is open, and Rotarian Rolika will facilitate the question and answer segment. So any questions, you can jot it down in the chat. Or if you don't feel like typing, you can just unmute yourself as well. Are we happy, guys? Any questions?
Okay, Lisa, we have a question here. I think this was sent from Rotarian Solomon. He asked Jenny, hi, what future does she envisage for herself in Rotary?
You know, I don't know. I'm kind of playing it by ear. I just, I love what I'm doing now. I'm volunteering with my district as the membership, rolling into my second year of that. So, you know, I don't really know what comes after this. I'm kind of enjoying what I'm doing right now and helping to grow our district and getting people excited. But for now, it's, you know, just me, just a Rotarian.
Thank you so much, Rotarian Franklin. I have some questions here as well. Rotarian Jenny, question from DGE Roberto Velez. What do you answer when someone asks you?
So I always, you know, if you spend a lot of time doing speeches or doing Q&As with people, you have this, or talking to the press or the media, you learn this technique of when someone asks you a question, but you really want to tell them something else, you ask another question and you answer your question. So if someone asks me, what is Rotary? I say, what does Rotary mean to me? And then I answer that question. Rotary to me is how I connect with the world to enact change, because I'm like-minded people in the world. And then I go ahead and tell them about maybe local projects that I've been a part of. And then of course, if I'm really trying to get them involved with my Rotary organization, with my club or with my district, then I might even offer them a what's in it for you kind of piece there too. So I always turn those questions a little bit, shift them a little bit, and instead really personalize it and tell them what Rotary means to me.
Thank you, Rotarian Jenny. Rotarian Roberta. Hope that answers the question we have is from Donef Cartwright. Are all the members of your club this enthusiastic? And if so, how do you achieve that?
I certainly hope so. I hope that they are this Rotary happy. I was actually I'm a charter member of my club. We have been in existence just for a few years. And several of us actually were a part of another club that was really unhealthy and very not Rotary happy at all. So we actually left that club. That club no longer exists. And we were able to build a new club and build a club with a lot of energy and build a club where everyone could get the experience that they want. So for me, you know, Rotary happy is for me authentically very excited, bubbly. I have a lot of energy. I'm always bouncing around. That's just kind of who I am as a person. But that might not be what your Rotary happy looks like, right? I frequently am out talking to people about Rotary. That might not necessarily be authentic to you. You might be a more behind the scenes person, or you might want to be more of a worker bee. So I think it's a matter of just being authentic. No one has to kind of look like me when you think about Rotary happy or act like me. I hope that it would be really authentic to you. But yes, I would say in my club, there are a lot of people who are a lot like me with a lot of energy and very willing to be silly and goofy.
Okay, I think we had a question about posted that in the chat. Next, we have a question from Rotarian Karen. How do you speak to new Rotarians as an orientation to your club?
Yes, so when I was my club's president, one of my favorite things that I got to do, I met individually with every member of the club, every current member, and then every member we brought in. So the year that I was president, we inducted 27 new members, so about a member every other week. So I got this chance to meet with everybody, either take them out to lunch or have a drink with me. And I would ask them about why they got involved with our organization. And then, you know, that would frame my conversation with them about what our club had to offer and what the possibilities and opportunities were for them to be in our club. So, you know, for me, I think Rotary is a very personal experience, and that membership experience is different for every member. So I think while I have a responsibility to make sure I'm getting the most out of Rotary, I also think we have the responsibility left and to the right and make sure that they're Rotary happy too, and that they're getting the experience that they want and need. So when I look at new member orientation, of course, yes, you go through the technical stuff, right? All the Rotary stuff and all the acronyms that we use, you kind of teach them about Rotary. But for as far as what they're going to get out of Rotary, that's really up to them, and we just hopefully have to help them along the way.
Rotarian Jenny, we have another question. What is the retention rate?
I would have to look at the exact stats. Our club is a little bit, our retention rate is probably, or our turnover rate is probably a little higher than some. And that's because we are in a college town, so there's a large university in our town, and we regularly have students, undergraduate students, join our club. So we have a lot of members who are maybe with us for a couple of years, and then because they graduate and they move away with a job, they leave our club. So our turnover because of that. But hopefully they're joining another club somewhere else. We try to work really hard to make sure that they get connected somewhere else. So, you know, I wouldn't be able to say necessarily what the exact numbers of our club is. I will say in my district, there are about 3,500 members in my district. And that's one of the chief strategies that I'm looking at as the district membership chair now, on how we can, because we're really good at getting people to join Rotary, but kind of keeping people at that, to me, the 1.5-year mark is a real critical point for engagement. So we're really working hard to figure out how we can better engage people at about 18 months of their, you know, Rotary experience with us, because it's definitely an opportunity for us to improve a lot.
I forgot to mention that question was from Lloyd St. Andrew of Jamaica. Next question, what are some of the strategies used to attract new members?
I get asked this question a lot, especially when people hear how many new members we welcome. And I really, if I'm being honest, the answer, we didn't do any kind of attraction or recruitment campaigns. I know that I've heard a lot of clubs that have had a lot of success with kind of competitions, recruitment competitions, things like that. We really didn't do anything like that. We were so focused on creating a meaningful experience for the people who were in our club and staying connected with each other and doing service projects. We always have, you know, several service projects that kind of magically became our recruitment tool. So people were coming in because they'd heard their coworker talking about Rotary. They'd heard, you know, they'd seen something on Facebook, or they read a newspaper article about Rotary, about some project that we had done. So that's usually what we would do. Is just simply people would show up to a public, you know, an event that we were at or something like that, and kind of think, well, they look fun. They look, you know, energetic. I want to become a part of that. For being really active, for really just being out in the community, getting our hands dirty, and just really working in the community and alongside other organizations. So that's how I think we've been most successful at, you know, attracting new members to our club.
Perfect. That was from Junior Buchanan. Next question from Rotarian Lionel. Your Rotary happy is obviously beaming. Can you share with us from experience the key element to keeping members engaged?
Yeah, so I think it's just one, asking the question about why they're a part of your organization and why they stayed, and helping to make sure that they're getting what they need from Rotary. And I think when you do that, when you really focus on creating a meaningful and impactful experience for each member or for the collective members, the rest of the work kind of starts to do itself a little bit, right? So if you think about a time when you read a really good book, or you went to a new restaurant back when we could still go to restaurants safely, found a new kind of hidden area in your community, right? Some little park or pond or lake or something, and you've come across that, you get so excited about it because it made you happy. And then you can't wait almost to tell someone else, to recommend to someone else that they go check out this restaurant or try this recipe or read this book. So I think we can apply those metrics to Rotary too, and really focus on making sure that people are fulfilled with their Rotary experience. And then, they just can't help.
Okay, next question from past President Kim Stubbs. How involved and invested are you in your club's success?
For me personally, very, because I was a charter member of the club. I was our club's second president. I was also a part of a club that ended very poorly. I was a part of a club where I had a very negative experience. So to be able to be with people that I cherish more than anything in this world, and to build a club where everybody was welcome, where everybody was valued, where everybody could contribute in that success. And I'll also say I'm invested just in Rotary in general. So volunteering with my district, I'm very invested in making sure that our district continues to grow, not because I want to put impressive numbers up on the board, or because, I want to be counting. Really, we need to grow Rotary because that's how we expand our capacity to do good in the world. Our work is just far too important, and our capacity to bring good to the people of the world, that's far too much of a responsibility for us to ignore, how the issues that we have in growing our organization. So because I believe in our work and our mission so much, I'm very invested in Rotary growing at all levels.
So we have topics. I think we can loop them together. How has COVID-19 affected your club, and how are you doing things for COVID? So to cope with the whole COVID-19 situation.
Yes. So obviously, being in the States, we have a lot. We've been really impacted by COVID-19 and lots of deaths. So unfortunately, within our district, we have had Rotarians that have passed away related to the virus. Even personally in my own community, we've had those. I think when you're addressing COVID as a Rotarian, there's one that's that personal, emotional level, right? This is sad. And then on another level, of many of the Rotarians in our club are business owners, small business owners, myself included. My husband owns a small business. So, we're all seeing our livelihoods being drastically changed. And then there's just more practical matters. So in our town, we didn't have very many cases for a long time. And then in July, we spiked really, really high. And we were having dozens and dozens of new cases in our town every single day. We were considered a hot spot. So people were advised not to travel to our county or to our town. So we almost immediately through Zoom, of course, Alicia had come to several of our meetings via Zoom. And then we tried to meet in person again, but outside. So we did about 4 meetings that way. And then that's about the time we had that really big increase again in cases in our community. So to stay safe, we went back to Zoom. And then we're working really hard, both in my club, but then also at the district level, to develop service project opportunities that are social distancing, you can do from a safe distance. So we've done, we've of course raised money for various organizations, but we've done healthcare appreciation days. We've done food drives, coat drives, shoe drives, things like that. Cleanup. We did a project called Rotary Responds. So for vulnerable members of our community who were self-isolating, who couldn't go to the grocery store or run errands for themselves, pick up their medications, we would pair them with a Rotarian who was less at risk to go and do those tasks for them. So we've really tried to offer the wake of all of this, but here in the States, it's changing day to day. So it seems the decisions we make one day are different maybe 2 days later.
Okay, so we're gonna take 3 more questions and we already have 2. The next question is from Rotarian Maggie. What is the age demographic, seeing that there's a lot of energy in your group? Do you think you have a vast diversity group of members? A vast diverse group of members, sorry.
Yes, so I think by Rotary standards, our club is probably thought to be a little more youthful. Our median age is about 30. Are like me, kind of mid-career people in the 30-somethings. But our age ranges from 21 to almost 80. And so I think I'm really proud of that we're kind of a multi-generational club. So we, we had a member, she is now 21, but we celebrated her 21st birthday with her because she was 20 when she joined. So I'll say, we do tend to skew a little more youthful. Our club is majority female. We have about 60% women in our club. The leadership of our club tends to be women as well. So in that way, I'd suppose that we're a little unique by traditional Rotary standards. In terms of diversity, just more general diversity, I think when I think about comparing my club to my district, yes, I would say we have quite a bit of diversity. When I think about where we are and where we should be in terms of diversity and inclusion, we have a lot of work to do. And keep trying to move that needle forward a little bit.
Okay, and the next question we have is, since the turnover rate is somewhat high, how do you retain the traditions, culture, and club knowledge to share with future members?
So while we do have a segment of our younger members who are getting jobs and moving away, we do have a really large contingent of members who have been in Rotary for decades. So I think that, we're kind of passing those things came to be and all of those things. So I will say though that I think, things like tradition and the culture of our club, I don't think that those should be static things. So for us, we look at the traditions and the culture and the ideology of our club changing every time someone new comes in with their own ideas. So I think that as a club, we should always kind of be moving and swaying a little bit as members come and teach us new things. So our club has recently went through a bit of time. There were parts of our membership onboarding experience that were not inclusive to people who were like gender fluid, to some members of the LGBTQ population. And so we had to learn from that and learn how could we be more inclusive, and were we excluding anybody, albeit unintentionally. But so I think that we have to, as Rotary clubs, particularly as we become more and more global in our work, even as a club, right? I'm sitting here in a meeting in the Caribbean right now from Ohio, from Appalachia. So I think as we become more and more global, to let go of some of those things, some of those beacons that we've really adhered to. So I guess I'm taking a long time to answer your question, so I apologize, Rotarian Lloyd, but I think too that, while we pass on the history of our club and the story of our club to our newer members, I'm not too worried about the traditions maybe changing a little bit, or the things that we do changing a little bit, because, I hope that our club will continue to be responsive to our community, because really, and it doesn't belong to our club president. I think our club belongs to our community, and it should constantly be changing and adapting to reflect our community as well as possible.
Okay, and our final question from Rotarian Blondie. How can we retain new members?
So I think it's that engagement right away. So making sure that we are asking new members, why did they get involved? What's important to them? What are their priorities? And then I also really love to get new members involved in projects right away, because I think that's why a lot of people join Rotary. And that's probably the most magical part about Rotary, is seeing what we can do, right? The power of Rotary to be able to, you know, I mean, think about it. You all have probably done this recently, where you've sat in a Zoom meeting and you've tossed around some ideas. And then before you know it, that's actually happening. And it's, you know, it's really happening and it's rolling out to your community. And I think the real beauty of Rotary. So I think really trying to get a read on those new members of what is it that they're passionate about. And if it's a project that maybe, if their passions align with a project you already have, plug them in, help them lead that, help them contribute to that project. And if it's something that your club's never focused on before, so maybe it's, you know, focusing on health and your club has never done a healthcare related project, I think asking that member to help teach you about it and pull in the experts and pull in the, you know, expertise to help make that happen, make your club stronger. It's only going to make you a bigger service to your community. So I think really pulling new members in right away. I also think, you know, what you all were doing during the fellowship portion of this evening's meeting, of just asking people how they were doing, making sure to introduce people, you know, even when if you're meeting in person, making sure that no one's sitting alone, pulling people in, can really make a lot of difference. I know when I attended my very first Rotary meeting in the club that I eventually joined, one thing, so many people came up to introduce themselves to me. And it made me feel really welcomed. It made me feel really appreciated for being there. So making sure that we're, you know, don't have any of those inner outer circles that form sometimes, I think is a great way to engage those new members and hopefully help them find their own Rotary happy.
Thank you, Rotary and Jenny, for all those answers, as well as an amazing presentation on how to be Rotary. Enjoyed it. And once again, thank you for the questions as well. President Alicia?
Thank you so much, Rotarian Rolaika, for facilitating the question and answer segment. And to officially thank our guest speaker for being with us this evening, I am going to pass the floor over to Rotarian Franklin. Rotarian Franklin?
Yes, thank you, Alicia. On behalf of the board, members, and guests of the Rotary Club of St. Martin Sunrise, I would like 6690 membership chair, Jenny Rebecca Stotts, of the Rotary Club of Athens Sunrise, for being with us on this fine Monday evening to address us on this topic of Rotary and me. Your personal story resonated with us and reminds us of our own personal Rotary story. Your emphasis on Rotary being about part of our own personal legacy and not just a duty. Rotary being an extension of our own personal mission in this life. This topic touched me on why I personally choose to be here. And encouraged by your experience and wisdom, and will use that to drive them to become both better Rotarians and members of society on a whole. So once again, thank you, Rotarian Jenny, for being with us, and we hope to have you again with us in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you so much.